Well, there is one point which was talked also by Mr. Dingley about this Novogrudak story, what happened in Novogrudak. I will leave this special topic from my colleague Zenonas and come directly to maybe more basic problems with Professor Davies' approach. You see on one side, this is a map of Lithuania in Mindaugas time. This is from the book of Professor Davies. Another myth is from the semi-official Belarusian Encyclopedia of History. The problem is that from my opinion, this Belarusian map conveys not true picture how Grand Duchy Lithuania looked like in 13th century. You see, I'm not nationalist Lithuanian historian trying to fight nationalist Belarusian historians. I'm using the map from the Belarusian historian leading synthetic book to argue something about of doubt in the book of Davies. So the message of this map and also of his book is that Grand Duchy of Lithuania emerged as kind of fusion between the ethnically Baltic lands and former Polish principality. Well, as a matter of fact, in Mindaugas time, only Black Ruthenia, so-called Black Ruthenia or Novogrudak land, was annexed to Lithuania. And it was only one of many fragments of this Polish principality, which was already non-existent as integral political unit in the middle century. Also, some of those fragments were ruled for some time by Lithuanian princes. All former Polish principality lands were annexed only in 14th century. So what you see on this left side is more true how Grand Duchy of Lithuania looked some 70 years later in 14th century. Well, for the making of the early Lithuanian state, the relations with Galician Volcanian princes, future Ukrainian, according to some Ukrainian historians, not with Polsk, were more important. Well, in because of some reason, this connection is not given due attention in Davies' book. Although there was a real chance of merging nascent Lithuanian state with Galician Volcanian principality, including Orthodox baptism and emergence or something, speaking anachronistically, of Grand Duchy of Ukraine instead of Grand Duchy of Lithuania. It's only one point of doubt in the book of Davies. So I think that all statements which can be looked with suspicion or criticized are coming from, trespassing against, the most important principle of historians. Take the initial point not from physical geography, not from a priori assumptions, but from historical sources. Professor Davies discovered that there is going from the lands of contemporary Belarus, the headwater line between watersheds of Nemunas and Daugava coming to the Baltic Sea, and Dnieper coming to the south, to the Black Sea. And my impression was his basic insight, that this is where this heartland of, well, Grand Duchy of Lithuania lies, and then how it emerged. Well, it's okay, but nevertheless one must make important addition. Well, this heartland was on the western side of this watershed area, and the real heartland area is not even designated in this map. This is historical land of Lithuania between Vilnius and Nemunas, and well, it's real initial Lithuania. And Aukštota happens only in sources from 14th century. Well, and because of this very reason, Vilnius is deep inside of Baltic lands, and well, cannot be considered as a part of this joint or common area of Baltic-Slavic interaction. Well, and well, from those a priori assumptions, well, I guess some misunderstandings about the political structure of Grand Duchy Lithuania are following. So the statement of Professor Davies is a case of pagan warriors held sway over predominantly Christian populations that had adopted its Orthodox ties nearly 3 centuries earlier. When Baltic warrior case stepped in the Varangian shoes, there was no violent reaction. Well, as a matter of fact, there were no pagan warriors ruling over Christians in the indirectly ruled peripheric lands like Polotsk, Vitebsk, Lavinia, which preserved broad autonomy. Lithuanian princes who were appointed by the Grand Duke to rule over Orthodox Ruthenian lands took Orthodox baptism. It was not possible to rule Christians being a pagan. I'm finishing. Well, so I'm not pleading, I'm not arguing from the standpoint of Lithuanian nationalist historiography against Belarusian nationalist historiography. I am proposing to move from the pan-European, but with some Belarusian bias, view of early history of Grand Duchy to even more global, comparative, imperiological view of Grand Duchy of Lithuania. And I still can have some 5 minutes. Okay. Well, so differently from Varangian rule in the early Ruthenian, Lithuanian rule over Ruthenian lands had a territorial basis, mainly Baltic Lithuania proper, which was center or metropole area in GDL. So in 14th, 15th century, GDL displays typical or classical imperial structure, including the division into dominant metropole and subordinated and indirectly ruled peripheric areas, retaining near to complete internal autonomy. Differentiation between dominant Lithuanian minorities, cemented by the belief in the allegedly Roman origins, subordinated a Slavic majority, distinguishing themselves both ethnically and religiously, and had different territorial locations. The fusion of the former imperial peripheries with former heartland into one political organism was achieved only on the eve of Lublin Union, when the nobleman democracy was established and the rights of Catholic, Protestant, Orthodox noblemen were equalized. So this late GDL, after Lublin Union, of course can be claimed as common legacy both of modern Lithuanian and Belarusian states of people. However, it would be a kind of anachronism and a sin for historians to project this late and limited fusion of Slavic and Baltic parts of GDL onto distant past and consider it as a very mechanism how GDL emerged. Really, at the very beginning, there was no fusion. There happened something different. Is my main message. Thank you.